Here I'm going to show you how to do an isometric to challenge the hip external rotators and some of these lateral muscles of your hip. So what you want to do is find a chair that you can sit in that allows your torso to rest back while your feet can still be pretty firmly planted on the ground. Then what you'll do is you'll take your feet and put them up together on their edges, so they're kind of like this but on the ground. And then you'll take your hands and put them on the outside of your legs. If you can reach your knees, that's great. If not, up your thighs is also okay. You're going to keep a little bit of pressure with your feet pushing into each other. And then you're going to attempt to be pushing your knees out to the side, but your hands are going to stop you. So you're going to end up pushing and kind of holding that. So you're resisting yourself with your hands while attempting to push your knees and legs down and out to the side with that little bit of pressure in between your feet. What we're trying to feel here in terms of location, and I'll put a little thingy up in here when I edit the video that shows kind of where these muscles are, is if you see this is a femur right here. We've got the ball that goes into the hip socket. So if we was facing forward, this is a right femur, it would look like this. This bony ridge on the outside with this nice little knob up top is the bony ridge that you can feel on the outside of your hip right here. It's not your hip joint, it's just this ridge right here. The joint is deeper inside. But this ridge right here is right there, and then the muscles that we're trying to challenge live between this ridge and kind of your sit bones and your sacrum out here. So when we're doing that push, what we're attempting to do is spinning our femur like this, which takes this ridge back towards your glute back here, back towards your sacrum and your sit bone and all these little muscles that live kind of in between there. So that's the area that we're trying to feel those muscles, is sort of back in here, not necessarily the glute itself, but kind of underneath the glute there. So when you're doing this, what you'll end up feeling is keep a little bit of pressure between the feet, hands on the outsides, pushing the legs down and out while maintaining some pressure in between, or with the feet together. You should be able to start to feel a contraction in that area. Then your job is to kind of consciously try to intensify that contraction by continuing to squeeze those muscles as you push your legs out with your feet pushing together. And after you've gotten pretty good at challenging this with an isometric, because these isometrics where we're not moving tend to be the easiest place to feel the muscles in the right area, because we're not moving back and forth, which makes it easy to get distracted and not be able to focus on the contraction as much. The point of this is to get really, really good at feeling the contraction to the point where you can almost just sit there and without even pushing, just contract those muscles. As soon as you get to that point, then I'll instruct you to do a movement-based exercise that will require you to contract the muscles that we've worked on contracting in this isometric. And if you seem to have a difficult time feeling those muscles working in this kind of butterfly version, where you're sort of pushing both of your legs down and out to the side, what you can do is a commonly done stretch, where people will do what's called the figure four, or whatever they want to call it, where they'll kind of put their foot here and then they'll push down with their hand like this. Instead of pushing down with your hand like this to kind of passively negotiate your hip into a place, what we want to do is actually put your hand on the other side and then attempt to use your own muscles of your hip to push your knee in that direction, but stopping yourself with your hand. And that tends to be a pretty good way for you to find these muscles contracting here. And then you can work it back and forth a little bit. So I'm resisting myself with my hand and kind of pushing my knee down and out, not to the point where it feels like a strain or a stretch in my groin, but just where I can feel these muscles back here kind of contracting and working. So doing that in an isometric fashion will be the easiest way to find the muscles. Then you can oscillate a little bit, kind of back and forth, resisting yourself with your hand. Then that might get you, if you do that a little bit on both sides first, hold it for 5 or 6 seconds or something, just to find that good contraction back there. Then you may be able to stick your feet together in this position we've already talked about and be able to find that contraction a little bit more. So that's another kind of troubleshooting possible option to find those hip rotators contracting in these isometrics.